You export crops, you make sure you got lots of fields.
Listen to you talking all countrified. This is a whole new side to you. Maybe on leave you can help out at my uncle's pig farm.
Yes, and featuring other great dialogue also. So there is a market for the great open world game where you really care about your character. There must be because they keep trying to develop them, in particular Ubisoft. So I don't know about you, but when some clever developer creates a world where I want to spend time in and not play around doing busy work, I'll be really happy to invest the time and probably the money also. Star Citizen looks promising, although we've yet to see a finished product. As a concept, it seems to have a lot going for it: an engaging story, a world that, although not large, like the Elite Dangerous Milky Way, is supposed to be filled with interesting places that feel alive. You have Guild Wars 2 with its impressive story and beautiful world, which is only made better with the company of friends. Guild Wars 2 constantly impresses with the sheer quantity and quality of its dialogue, and then you have Ghost Recon Wildlands. So let's see how it compares. I decided it was time to write my review detailing my almost 2 months of time with Ghost Recon Wildlands after watching a documentary called Columbia on the BBC. The documentary is set in a country which also has a history with the infamous coca plant and its well known white powder substance. The documentary reminded me of the game in so many ways: the incredible scenery, the few paved roads, isolated rural villages fending for themselves, the up and down nature of the temporary housing, and the ever present signs of wealth that contrast this in a sometimes disturbing manner. This is all present in Ghost Recon Wildlands. Without a doubt, the world Ubisoft has crafted in this game is a beautiful one. The contrast from jungle scenes and dusty roads to icy mountain peaks to vast lakes is nothing short of stunning and is pretty impressive. For sure, this game looks amazing and the mind boggles at the level of detail in the landscape. I feel like there could be amazing things waiting to be discovered out there on the map. Let's hope this opportunity hasn't been missed. Let's talk about graphical performance, something which has had a lot of airtime and a lot of talk. I'm currently running an i7 4790K based on the socket 1150 architecture. I have now a GTX 1070, but previous to that, I had an AMD Or9 290X overclocked edition, which we'll talk about first. That particular graphics card with that CPU could get 39 FPS at high, low 30s at very high, and sub 30 at ultra. Now, yeah, it's an older CPU and GPU, but they're certainly not lacking in power in any way, and they definitely weren't an issue for any other recent game, including Battlefield, Titanfall 2, or any new or recent game. As mentioned, I did upgrade to a GTX 1070. The results were that I now can get a steady 60 FPS at very high and 52, 59 at ultra. So definitely there's a big change there. However, it is worth mentioning that the difference between the lowest and highest settings is not something that you'll notice a huge amount of difference between. In fact, when you're adjusting the settings, it gives you a little preview of what it will look like, and it's mostly removing distant vegetation. So you can happily drop it down to medium and not feel like your experience is going to be impacted. This is a really important point which doesn't seem to be getting mentioned when people are discussing performance. Yes, it should be better optimized, but it's not the game-breaking apocalypse that some people have portrayed it as. If you were thinking about not purchasing this because of graphical performance, um, you can turn the settings down and probably have a really fun and playable experience as well. It is what is missing or handled in an insensitive manner that sadly stands out more. The notion that a team of four special soldiers are going to solve the entire Bolivian drug cartel problem. It isn't given the full America fuck yeah treatment, but it's cringingly close at times. You do free rebels who might join your fight, but you don't have any real direct control of them. They're just another icon on the map to check off. They may or may not turn up to help you in the odd fight, but it's mostly down to you and your three squad mates to save the world. So far, the story hasn't touched on any of the human aspects of this either. You proceed on your merry way, the odd civilian gets killed without any consequence. There's no attempt to include any reference to the impact on the ordinary people. the impact is instead glossed over and a chance for a compelling narrative line is lost. Does it really have to be endless kill missions with no human story? Well, no time for that when you need to fly a drone over a hacienda for the 22nd time. If a compelling narrative is one of your expectations, then much like The Division, you may be disappointed. Don't get me wrong, it's not that there is no story at all, it's just that the little there is gets overwhelmed by all of the busy work that you have to be getting on with in order to actually do the story missions. And let's face it, sometimes you want Die Hard and sometimes you want Inception, so low story and lots of gunfights might be a-okay for you. Just to also say, don't confuse this with me saying that this is an all out action movie. I'd actually describe it to be more like a resource management game with guns. Worth mentioning also that the portrayal of Bolivia in the game seems to have ticked off a few members of the government over there. Interior Minister Carlos Romero reaching out to the French embassy with a letter of complaint and saying, "We have the standing to do it, take legal action, but first we prefer to go the route of diplomatic negotiation." In response, Ubisoft has stated that the game is a work of fiction. It's been set in Bolivia due to the quotation, magnificent landscapes and rich culture. Nothing at all then to do with the coca plant, I guess. Audio wise, the in game music is magnificent and very well produced. It seamlessly transitions from local area audio to tense going into the mission music. What music there is impresses, but there needs to be some more of it. Bowman chips in every so often over the phone when you enter a new area or when she has some intel for you. The chatter, oh dear me, the chatter. Inane banter back and forth between your squad mates might be in character, but I do have to ask, how am I able to know line for line everything the characters or enemies are going to say? That includes the lines in Spanish, by the way. The answer is because there's just not a great variety of voice acted lines spoken in the game for your characters. Let me be clear, there's no issue with the voice acting, there's just not that much of it. In fairness, the main story missions had slightly more voice budget spent on them, slightly more. But by the time you're a few hours in, you will have heard the same inane jokes and heard the same lines in Spanish from the Unidad officers and the cartel grunts. In the traditional Ubisoft open world fashion, the map is a sea of various icons representing any number of side missions, or busy work as the rest of the world calls it. Deploy drone, spot bad guys, sniper them as stealthily as possible, get bored of that, and go in all guns blazing. Once you've unlocked the Rebel safe house, you can fast travel to them, and the need for driving very far at all goes away. In order to unlock new skills, you need skill points and resources such as gasoline, medical supplies, or food. These are found throughout the large map, and a lot of your time is going to be spent finding these in order to upgrade your character's abilities. You can find random containers just by getting close or unlocking a skill to reveal them, or by doing the related missions. These missions are nearly always steal a helicopter, stop a convoy on the road, break into a base, or turn off some kind of comms tower. Now, of course, the story missions are slightly different variations of these, but they're only variations on the same limited theme. The in game DLC allows you to instantly unlock a load of assault rifles, sniper rifles, and more. Pretty standard stuff, and the prices are reasonable enough, although you will have to spend real world money to unlock them. However, I'm not sure why you would want to do this when the best sniper rifle in the game, the HDI, is relatively easy to find, as are the assault rifles. Some of the more ridiculous DLC allows you to drive gold plated cars and vehicles. On the Ubisoft website, you can unlock rewards with Ubi points, such as the essential Pinata drone, described as useful to taunt your enemies with music and confetti. Yes, I'm 12 years old, and that seems appealing. The levels of character customization available are very high, and I feel like you can create a fairly unique character. If you have a balance of UB points, you can also unlock some extras like the rather tasty Dying Earth costume. Don't forget to check out the Ubisoft website, as you may have quite a balance of points to spend if you don't normally use them. Remember how we complained about bullet sponge enemies in the Division? Well, I didn't, because at least that was a reason to actually upgrade your weapon and see the result of said upgrade. In Ghost Recon Wildlands, the starter assault rifle you have kills in one shot if it's a headshot, Well, that's kind of expected. Yeah, a headshot is a headshot, and the expected result is instant death. So why change weapons? Well, stats, of course, glorious stats, that's why. Except those stats are hard to see the meaning of. Different weapons have different stats for sure, but in practice against squishy human targets, a 1 second burst from an assault rifle is going to take down anyone. And again, headshots do what you expect. Sniper rifles are different. They have a max damage stat on the bar, which really does make a difference. But what this means is that the array of different weapons and weapon attachments boil down to trying to achieve a few core things. Choosing a scope for the HTI sniper rifle. This is a 50 caliber sniper rifle that you can range find with easily. By the way, remove the suppressor and you can one shot helicopters. Choose some form of red dot sight for your chosen assault rifle so that you can see better than with the stock iron sight. And finally, fit things to increase ammo capacity and decrease recoil, although neither of these are things that seemed to be a problem for me when I was playing, as you can get used to the gun handling pretty quick, and almost anywhere you go, especially if it's a mission, has an ammo crate of some sort. I guess the tone here is mostly negative or describing some potential positives that were not fully realized. So I must hate this game, right? Well, inexplicably, I don't. And in fact, I've been enjoying it. A proviso here, you're talking to a guy with up to 70 hours into Division. I think it mostly comes down to being one of those personalities that actually enjoys having a goal in a game and seeing progress towards it. Seeing the tangible changes to your character's strengths and abilities also floats my boat. This isn't going to suit everyone, and if you hated the division, I don't see you liking this a whole lot more. And just like that game, Wildlands is best enjoyed with friends where you can add your own levels of silliness or seriousness, even some RPG stuff if you like. If you played the division with some friends and had some fun, then you'll likely have a blast with this. None of this changes any of the criticisms I have. If you're taking the time to develop this huge, beautiful world, then why not make it an interesting place to want to stay in? What's wrong with a compelling story to supplement the shooty, shooty, bang, bang? Why, oh, why do the AI characters in your squad have to be typical stereotype G.I. Joes? If these questions are likely to bother you, then maybe wait for a sale or try a friend's game out. If you can suspend your disbelief and enjoy this with some friends, then I'm sure you'll get your money's worth. It would just be nice if sometimes the open world bar was set higher than give them 50 hours. Folks, I want to thank you for taking the time to take a look at this review. It's still early days for me on my YouTube channel. All feedback is well received. If you liked the video, please do consider subscribing and giving it a like. We run a really great gaming community called Good Guys Gaming, same name as the channel. We're housed over on Google Plus at the moment, and I'll include links to all of that in the video description. If you want to try Ghost Recon Wildlands, Warframe, Guild Wars 2, Elite Dangerous, or any other kind of online multiplayer big games, we're playing quite a few of them, and you'd be most welcome in our community. So do drop in and say hi and see if there's a game that you'd be liking to play with us.